Good morning, Jay. How are you?
Good morning. I got us a little background music this morning.
Oh, hopefully it's DMA
Oh, yeah,
or
absolutely.
okay.
The platform that we work with, StreamYard, just added some cool background music, which I think is really, really neat. They put all this like royalty-free stuff in here, so you can just add a little mood to
Little
things.
mood to the
Yeah,
Friday mornings.
exactly. So, good morning, everybody.
Hey,
Well, welcome back to AZ Update. Always
that's right.
good to see all of you.
Episode
Jared,
2
yeah,
of this season.
Jared, Andrew, the rest of y'all that are in the chat, thank you so much. We always appreciate it. Um, so, Pierre, what another big week around here. There's
Yes.
been so many goings on, whether it's in our team specifically, or even what's going on at Microsoft. So we've had a really good week, I think.
Yeah.
And
Well,
we've got some new Azure stuff to talk about. We've got some news stories, plenty to talk about today.
yeah, and you just mentioned there's new things coming on in our team. We are, I think Rick announced it on Twitter, but let's go through it here. We now have 2 new team members. Uh, Amy Coilier and Vinicius. I always mispronounce his last name. Apolinario.
There you go.
Yeah, man, I
See,
have to read it.
it's your multilingual tongue that makes it a little bit easier to do that than my mangle mouth Brooklyn, New Staten Island sounding voice. So
Well, I'm. It's my French tongue. I always end up mispronouncing names that are of a different ethnicity than mine. Not, I don't even know if it's called ethnicity or nationality or anyway. Like, I always had problems with German names and like Spanish / Portuguese name.
well, lucky I can say my own. So you already got a leg up on me.
Well, I don't even do my own because I have a very French name and I work with a lot of Anglo Saxon or Anglophone, sorry, the people, and my name doesn't. Nobody, very few can actually pronounce it properly in
Mhm.
English. So I've just anglicized the whole thing and just kind of it's now Roman.
And we got some other big news aside from some new people part of our team. Microsoft Cloud, really big earnings report.
Mhm.
The big stuff that I took from it, we'll scroll down a little bit, was definitely the business, the Windows OEM revenue increasing, and then the amount that came from Azure revenue, I thought was pretty incredible. We've got such a diverse list of products. The revenue increased by 29%, driven by Azure, and other cloud services grew by 46%. So there is a want, need, and love for Azure out there.
Yeah. But before we get to the news, there was a bit of a like announcement this week, and I think you wanted to cover that about a
Yeah.
dear friend of ours.
Yeah, one of our dear friends that was part of the cloud advocacy organization that was a huge proponent of DevOps, Abel Wang. You may not know, you may know, but he did pass away last summer from tragically from cancer,
Yep.
and we all miss him very, very much. And as you can see, he was there's a series of awards from a group called the DevOps Dozens that went out and they picked all these different categories, best podcast, best transformation. Um, but they also had this year the top DevOps evangelist. and posthumously they have awarded Abel, who had to be elected by a peers essentially, who
Mhm.
were given an opportunity, and he won. And if you didn't know, he was a principal program manager. He and Donovan did a lot of work together. I know he and Jessica did a lot of work together. Just spectacular person overall.
Yep.
And any accolades that he can get since we've lost him is just tremendous. So just wanted to put it out there for everybody to know our buddy Abel is still in everyone's thoughts.
Absolutely, absolutely. All right, so we have a full show this week.
Yeah,
We How about you get us started? What are you going to talk about today?
sure. So Azure DevOps has had a few new releases of updates to the program, the software, and one of the new releases is put out there the ability to copy a dashboard to a different team, the same
Mm-hmm.
team, or a different team project. And team and query configuration is updated in that new dashboard. This minimizes work to build similar dashboards from scratch for multiple teams, which save time, save effort. There's been some updates to pipelines, YAML pipelines, setting a deny access to all pipelines as the default protected as the default. Let's try that one more time. Setting deny access to pipelines as the default for protected resources. Azure Pipelines will also post a neutral status back to GitHub when it decides not to run validation because of a path exclusion rule. So Pipelines has automatic retries, consume inputs from another task in a decorator, improvements to service connections, usage history, which is important if you're doing some auditing. Default agent specification, which is now Windows 2019 for the classic pipelines. Access to all pipelines, like I said, off by default and protected resources. Deprecation is going to happen for Windows 2016 hosted images. So if you need to still test your Windows 2016
Well,
based builds, you've got to use
the,
a provided agent. You can't
for
use one. Go ahead.
sorry, for the hosted images, isn't that just the image of the worker bee that
Yeah.
basically executes?
Yep.
So
That's what I'm
really,
saying. Yeah.
yeah, so it really has very little impact on the operation. It's mostly that like the machine. So if you unless you were using something that was specific to 2016, you may have to retest some of your
Yeah.
pipelines.
You'll have to potentially either change the version if you need to, or if it's something that's specific to your software build and you have to do it on
Yep.
2016, which I'll be honest with you, I can't imagine.
No, me
But
neither.
if that is the case, you can set up a self-hosted pipeline within Azure DevOps and bring your own agent and essentially say, all right, builds are going to go here.
Yep.
However, the Microsoft hosted agents tends to be one of the things that people really love about the service, reducing the amount of work that you have to go into actually maintaining, patching a build image. And like I said, there's some small things like copy dashboard improvements and filter on null values in a burn down chart widget. So Azure DevOps, your place to organize, deploy, and connect your work. Uh, I know Abel would appreciate hearing all that, and I know how hard that he and the rest of the team worked on that product when it first got released.
Yeah, I'm especially excited about the new integration or the new way we're integrating with admin accounts
Mm-hmm.
because from an operations standpoint, there's a couple things is granting somebody access and to be an admin of a DevOps organization. Um, it becomes a little cumbersome when you have a lot of people or a large company. But now being able to just put them into an AD group and having that AD group with all of the permissions set already in GitHub simplifies things really well. Plus, it simplifies when somebody leaves, where you remove them from AD and it automatically removes them from all of their GitHub and all of the other access. So I'm especially excited about that part.
Very, very cool. So improving your Azure DevOps experience, always. That team has always got something new to share. You can check out the Azure DevOps blog on DevBlogs if you want to keep up to date with all the new features that are released.
Yeah, and it's DevOps. I've been working more and more with it. I'm seeing ops, like operations based and IT usage with Azure DevOps more and more. Like Azure Boards is fantastic for keeping track of anything that needs to be done. Azure Repo for anything that's scripts or automation files or anything like that. Like, and I'm started to kind of play around a little bit with pipeline to just kind of like execute not deployments of things, but execute like just code, whether it's PowerShell or Azure CLI to affect my endpoint, but based on triggers, based on webhooks, based on a whole kinds of other things. So been looking at that, and I'm optimistic that more and more operations folks are going to start looking at that, because there's definitely a lot of value in there.
Yeah, absolutely. We always need to find ways to automate, make things easier, and also be able to keep track of our work.
Yeah.
And I think that that's one of the benefits of Azure DevOps is it's a pretty all-in-one type of situation. It's got a lot of things for a lot of different people who are either deploying software, writing software, auditing software, securing, you name it. There's all sorts of different extensions, plugins, features that you can use to be able to maximize what Azure DevOps is able to do.
Yep. Okay, so next item on our list, considering we're at almost a halfway mark, is the landing zone accelerators for Microsoft Azure Arc enabled server. This is not really a new or an announcement on the technical side, so we're not announcing new functionality here. But we're constantly being asked, like, what is the documentation for this scenario? What is the best approach or best practice for this scenario? So the landing zone or accelerator is an area where you're actually going to be able to go and look at all of the different scenarios that they are. So whether or not it's hybrid first customer or Azure first customer or multi-cloud customer, and look at all the documentation and all of the guidance on how you can organize and configure Azure Arc enabled servers in that particular scenario to get the outcome that you're looking for. So we are looking at across multiple. So I've seen some for Azure Backup, and I've seen some for Azure Monitor, and I've seen some like landing zone where we're collecting all of that documentation and all of this like reference architectures and putting them into one single location that's easy to find. Because let's face it, our documentation in the past has not always been the most straightforward thing to navigate. So it's go here and refer to here, but now this is with this accelerator landing zone, this is getting much better.
And this is all part of that cloud adoption framework for Azure. The ability to look at these types of pieces of documentation and making determinations on what your best road for cloud adoption is. There's a lot of different scenarios, use cases, strategic moves, tactical moves like the actual migrate. So there's all, and then of course, managing, governing all your different deployments, all super important. And I just thought any more information we can give people on why they should move to Azure or how they should make their servers that are maybe in a data center, some sort of other cloud, to make them available so that you can have them all within your Azure view. Super, super useful. Great product, and great that we've tried to get documentation in one place for everybody.
Yep. Documentation is always very important. And for the audience out there, if you find something in a document on Docs or anywhere else for Microsoft, on the upper right corner, there's always a little button that says edit or feedback. Please press it and tell us what it is. Considering the way the documentation is all organized now on GitHub, what used to take 6 months to run a change through our documentation can now be turned on in a matter of days. So if you see something that that you're not concerned about, but you see something that's wrong, even if it's a typo, just hit that button and let us know, and we're trying very, very hard to make that documentation better.
Absolutely. So we got another news item here for a new service or service improvement within Azure, which is general availability for Azure Key Vault, increased service limits to all its customers. Mm-hmm. So one of the things that you needed to be concerned with for your secrets and your software keys was a limitation on how many you can do per 10 seconds. It used to be 2,000, but now there are 4,000 GET transactions per 10 seconds allowed, which changes the service quota just a little bit. If you want to take a look at all your different service limits, there's the documentation on the Azure page. And you can learn more about these Key Vault insights. And so what you can get out of this that's huge is that the look into your Key Vault insights. So you're able to see utilization, latency, availability, how many authentication sessions have happened, and which are successful, which have failed. And to be honest with you, it's really, really super useful because you want to be able to keep an eye for your auditing purposes, how often certain secrets and keys are being used. And then the monitoring overview page in the portal shows you total request, average latency, success ratio, metrics for API latency, Vault availability, Vault saturation, API hits, and API results. All really useful. So make it your challenge to be able to use this service and improve what your security posture is within your applications or your server deployments. I think it's real important, and you should always consider how to protect the secrets that you use in the best way possible.
Yeah, because if any of our audience right now is hard-coded admin credentials in any of their automation scripts or deployment scripts, stop it. Stop it now. It's not a good idea. It really isn't. And Key Vault is a really great tool to allow you to basically save everything in one location, and then when you're done or when you need that credentials, you just retrieve it, you use it, and then it evaporates, so it's gone. So go ahead.
Christos Mastakas, he does some really great things with his 425 show on Twitch. So he's got his identity hackathon going on.
Yep.
I know that we've got some people that have moved over into that part of the organization and have really started enjoying what there is to offer about showing people how identity is best, or I should say managed identities are best used within Azure. So take a look at the 425 show. I think it's really, really useful. And Christos is just a really nice guy.
Yep.
Yep. And Shannon, used to be on our team, moved over to start working with Christos, and just wonderful person, very knowledgeable, and a DJ, which I can appreciate.
All right. Last bit of news for the week. There's a new public preview for, and if you watched this show before, you know I'm a huge fan of Azure Monitor. I'm a huge fan of anything where I can collect as much information about my environment and build a way to be able to monitor it, display the status, the health, and react to it through alerts and so much for all of my machines, regardless where they may be. Now, Azure Monitor, the new agent, which uses data collection rules to send the data to the log analytics workspace, can send it to multiple workspace if you have multiple rules for that particular agent that covers that scope. One of the things that our customers have told us is when that machine is running, let's say on an Arc server that's on-prem or in somebody else's cloud, the agent had to send the data over open internet. It was still encrypted with a long key and very secure, but some of the requirements that some of these customers had in terms of using that in environment that requires isolation has prompted us to enable the agent to connect to Azure private links.
So another way of improving that security posture, keeping things off the public internet as much as you can.
Exactly. So now with the agent, you can connect to an Azure private link, and if essentially create a site-to-site VPN in which that encrypted information is going to go through. So, and it's going to connect to, because it's a private link, it connects to the closest endpoint to Azure, and then uses the Azure backbone to get to your workspace. So again, bypassing the internet. If you want to bypass the internet completely, then we have to look at ExpressRoute. Yeah. So, like you said, just more and more ways to secure your platform and your environment, and make sure that the data that is so critical to you remains yours.
Absolutely. So we've got some things that are going to be going on around the community that we'd probably like you to check out and see if it's something that you want to learn more about these different subjects. One of them is something I'll be taking part in, which is a session with Maddie Stratton and Kat Cosgrove of Pulumi. You can go to this link, aka.ms/reactor Pulumi. We're going to talk about using Azure to deploy Python resources with Pulumi. So
is it deploying Python resources or deploying resources with Python?
Deploying Azure resources with Python and Pulumi. So that means using your using the Python language to actually write your infrastructure as code solutions. So that's one of the benefits of using Pulumi, is there's not a specific DSL that you're using or domain specific language. You're using the languages you already know. So if you want to write your infrastructure as code and deployment code in TypeScript, you can do that. Python, you can do that. There's all sorts of different ways. They've got an Azure first kind of mentality where they're going against what APIs are released and then allowing you to just basically connect to those APIs. So and create the infrastructure that you need. It's a great tool. There's state management. There is ease of deployment because, like I said, you're able to connect Azure directly with the software and write the language that you want to write to actually deploy your code in. So you don't have to learn something new like you do, say, with ARM or with Bicep. While they're great products, that you could be in a multi-cloud situation where you need to do the deployments to more than one particular cloud. And if that's the case, having an agnostic tool that still takes a look at all the different APIs that you have, and you don't have to necessarily wait. Like one of the downsides of Terraform, while it's a great product, you have to wait for them to create different connectors and make updates to the ones they have in order to utilize certain services.
Yep. No, that's great. Actually, this was one of the things that were in my calendar. Hopefully my calendar doesn't get too overloaded by February 16th, so I can still watch you and cheer you on. Also, what we have, Patch and Switch is on today at noon Eastern, 9 Pacific, and I can't do the math to say what it is across the pond. But that's about it for our community events. Hey, and by the way, if you have community events that you're participating in or that you're interested in and that are coming up in your neck of the woods, just drop us a line and we'll add them to this list, because we don't have visibility into every community event, and we want to make sure that this show fits in with you. And thank you, Jared, for 17 ETC. Is that what he said? Yep.
UTC.
All right. To end the show, our learn module of the week is, we should have like some dramatic music to like module of the week.
How about
all right. So the module of the week this week is Introduction to Azure Arc. And the reason we picked that is because of the announcement of the landing zone for Azure Arc, but also because it ties in with a lot of different announcements that we've had, such as the private links. Because if you're deploying your agents on Azure Arc, you have to know how to configure it so that it reports its information to the right location. So I highly recommend everyone to go through the Introduction to Azure Arc learning path on Microsoft Learn. It's not very long. It'll take you probably less than half an hour, but it does give you a great overview of Azure Arc and what it can do for you.
So become a Microsoft Learn wizard. By using this, you can gain your experience points and compete with your friends if you find that to be what you want. Some people are a little bit more competitive than others. I know we've got some people within our team that have done like every single module. I think like Oren and
Sonia, I believe.
Yeah,
I've done all of the modules. Yeah, I'm not there. I'm nowhere there.
I try to pick up at least one or two a week.
So
it's always great. Especially like if I'm doing fun bites and I have a new subject I want to cover, I always think it's important to like, hey, let's just run through the Learn module.
Yep, that's right. Well, we're all coming up to the half hour. Thank you very much, Jay, for another great episode of Azure Update. Have a great weekend, buddy.
Thanks a lot. You too. I know you'll be back next week with another host that'll be your guest to help people learn a little bit more about what's new in Azure. But until then, you know what? You all have a wonderful weekend. Enjoy that Friday. We'll see you soon. Take care, everybody.
Bye.